Welcome to day 176 on the trail. We have three readings for today from 2 Corinthians 4, verse 1 through 5:10, 1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 3 through 10:16, and 2 Maccabees chapter 8, verse 30 through 36. Beginning in 1 Samuel chapter 7, Samuel, who has already been introduced as a prophet and a priest, now becomes a judge of Israel. And under his leadership, the people, as a nation, repent. They renounce their worship of the Baals and return to God. God then rescues them from the Philistines. And to commemorate their victory and freedom from the oppressive hand of the Philistines, Samuel sets up a stone to glorify God, who in his mercy and forgiveness saved them. He named the stone Ebenezer, which in Hebrew means stone of help. You may remember the word Ebenezer as it was used as the name of the protagonist in Charles Dickens' famous work, A Christmas Carol. Some interpreters suggest Dickens selected this name because Scrooge is initially hard and sharp as flint. But after receiving supernatural help, he is transformed into someone who helps others through his generosity. Also, the famous hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, written by Robert Robinson in 1758, makes reference to the word Ebenezer. From this passage, remembering God's help and faithfulness. Here I raise my Ebenezer. Hither by thy help I've come, and I hope, by thy good pleasure, safely to arrive at home. Following God's rescue of Israel from the Philistines, Samuel continues to judge Israel for the remainder of his days. However, like the sons of Eli, the sons of Samuel did not follow the ways of their father. Instead, they were greedy, accepted bribes, and did not practice justice like their father had. Therefore, the elders of the people said, Your sons are not good. They don't follow your ways. Therefore, give us a king like other nations. However, the behavior and attitude of Samuel's sons is really only part of the problem, and perhaps even a convenient excuse. Instead, the truth shows up at the end of chapter 8, verse 5. You are old, and your sons do not follow in your ways. Appoint for us, then, a king to govern us, like other nations. The reason that they want a king is not just about Samuel's sons. If the problem was simply related to Samuel's sons, they could have asked Samuel to appoint a new and more righteous judge. Instead, we are told that they wanted to be like the surrounding nations. To this point in the larger story of Israel, God has been the one and only king. But now, as Moses had anticipated in Deuteronomy chapter 17, the people are rejecting God's kingship. And this is not the first time. Back in Judges chapter 8, when the people asked Gideon to rule over them, Gideon responds, I will not rule over you, and my son will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you. So, once again, Israel is wanting to install a human king, instead of faithfully trusting in God as their king. Therefore, Samuel turns to God in prayer about this situation, and in verse 7, we find God's response. And the Lord said to Samuel, Listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. At God's instruction, Samuel then explains to the people that a king would not bring the justice and the leadership that they are seeking. Instead, both the people and their property would be appropriated to serve the king's self-interest. Beginning in verse 10. So Samuel reported all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, These will be the ways of the king who will reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them to his chariots and to his horsemen, and to run before his chariots. And he will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and some to plow his ground, and some to reap his harvest, and to make his implements of war and the equipment of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be his perfumers, and cooks, and bakers. He will take the best of your fields, and vineyards, and olive orchards, and give them to his courtiers. He will take 1/10 of your grain, and of all your vineyards, and give it to his officers and his courtiers. He will take your male and female slaves, and the best of your cattle and donkeys, and put them to his work. He will take 1/10 of your flocks, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves. But the Lord will not answer you in that day. Yet despite Samuel's personal disapproval and the stern warning from God, including the threat of God not answering them in their time of need, the people still demand a king. Instead of trusting in God who had delivered them repeatedly, including their freedom from slavery in Egypt, they so wanted to be like other nations and to have a king to fight in their wars that they rejected God and his leadership. By wanting a human king to fight their battles for them, the people are essentially handing over their responsibility and trust to a human king. However, while they can't abdicate their responsibility, God points out very clearly that they cannot avoid accountability. The same is true for us as well. When we set aside our responsibility as disciples of Christ in order to be accepted by those around us or to become more like the world, we are also rejecting Christ's kingship over our lives. And this is not the life that Jesus intends for us. As Jesus told us in John chapter 10, verse 10, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Jesus came into the world seeking the best for us. He came bringing a kingdom and a kingship, which is like any other before or since. His kingship brings true, abundant life, not just in some distant, unseen, unexperienced future, but today. Now, as seen in 1 Samuel chapter 8, choosing to trust God in a world that is heading in the opposite direction is difficult. The current of the world is strong, and the way of discipleship demands the faithfulness and strength to swim against the current on a daily basis. After all, if everyone else has a king, don't we deserve one too? Why should we deprive ourselves of life's pleasure? Or shouldn't I let someone else do the heavy lifting so I can find comfort and enjoy my life? Jesus clearly warned us about traveling this path. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, Jesus says, Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the road is easy that leads to destruction, and there are many who take it. For the gate is narrow, and the road is hard that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.